One. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Community Services Committee meeting. It is August 30th. It is Tuesday, and on this committee, it is I, Councillor Chris Thiessen as chair, with Councillors Bosch, Councillor Berg, and Mayor Jackie Clayton on the committee as well today. We have a new look to our committee today, so before we open up, I'd just like to welcome back to our city team and family, Mr. Dan Lemieux, who will be taking over the services as, well, Community Services Director for the City of Grande Prairie. Now, Dan has had an illustrious career in municipalities, originally with City of Grande Prairie and left as our acting fire chief. We moved on to somewhat greener pastures in Strathcona County, and then moved back when he realized the pastures weren't as advertised and they were really greener over here in the Peace region. He went to the County of Grande Prairie to work as their Community Services Director, and now is here gracing us with his presence and his expertise. And he tells me, and it's probably not true, that he's related to the greatest hockey player of all time. But welcome Dan Lemieux to the city family, and I'll let you kick off today's meeting with your Director Service Area Report.
Thank you for that introduction, Mr. Chair. It's very much appreciated, and it is like a homecoming for me, so I'm pleased to be back with you at the city here. In terms of an update, I'd like to start off with the CKC update, and Aquaterra's free community event will be held on September the 1st at the Aquaterra Outdoor Pool, so we're pleased to host that event. The last day for the outdoor pool will be on September the 15th. The CKC will be opened on the stat holiday on September the 5th. It'll be open from 12 to 5 p.m. And tomorrow, August 31st, is the last day to purchase your summer blast pass, which can be redeemed until September 30th. And we have sold 1,071 of those passes as of August 24th. With regards to events and entertainment, our staff there supported the Experience Grande Prairie event by bringing Trooper for the downtown concert, which was very well attended, so we're excited about that. And the storm season starts tonight at 5 p.m. Tonight is a game against Sherwood Park, and then Friday night is Whitecourt, and then Sunday is Drayton Valley. On the fleet side, we have 2 replacement street sweepers that have arrived and are now in service. With regards to sports development, wellness, and culture, as you know, the government of Alberta has recently delegated or designated September 1st as Alberta Day, and so we'll be celebrating that on September the 3rd at the Bonnets Energy Centre with a community barbecue from 1 to 3, and then after that, there's a free skate with the Storm hockey team from 3 p.m. to, I believe, 6 p.m. Also, the mobile skate park has returned to the Activity and Reception Centre. With regards to transit, I'd like to provide a little bit of information with regards to the stats there. We have been having some software issues with the VIA software program. However, some of their senior staff will be in the city on September 12th and 13th to provide additional training and help us work through some of those issues. But I do have some stats for you. So for the period of August the 14th to the 20th, we had 230 rides for 63 unique riders. 38% of those rides were shared. The average ride duration was 12.5 minutes, and 60% of the bookings were done with mobile devices. 24% were done through dispatch, and 16% were done through the web platform. We're still looking for some stats in terms of wait times. I don't have those for you today, but as soon as we're able to dig those out, I will provide some wait times. And for the period of August 12th to the 27th, we went up to 267 rides with 74 unique riders, and the rest of the stats were very similar to that first week. And the last thing I'd like to share is that staff will be attending the Northwest Polytech's Thriving in the City event on September the 7th, and that's to advise students of the changes on some of our routes and some changes with the transit. So that's my report, Mr. Chair, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you for that, Director Lemieux. I do see Councillor Berg in the queue, and I believe Councillor Bressy as well.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen, and welcome, Mr. Lemieux. 2 quick questions. Do we have an estimated crowd for those 2 days with Experience Grande Prairie?
I don't believe we have the exact numbers yet. I've heard some estimations, but as soon as we can firm up those estimates, we'll share that with council.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you'd mentioned a software issue. Is that impacting service?
I can't answer that question. I wonder if Mr. Miller can help with that question.
Sure. Thanks, Chair Thiessen. So in talking to Mr. Harvard, it is affecting service a little bit. It's making it more difficult for the clients to book, and there's a little bit of confusion, I understand, as well with some of the bookings. So Mr. Harvard has been meeting with some of the clients and trying to navigate through it. And like our Director Lemieux said, the software people are coming and they will be on site in a couple of weeks to help us rectify it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for those questions, Councillor Berg. I was at the Experience GP event, I think, as everyone else on council was as well. And my rough head count said that approximately about 3,000 people for the Friday night. Unfortunately, I wasn't there for the Saturday, but it was a great event put on by our staff. So thank you very much to everyone who had a hand in that, because it was probably one of our best downtown parties we've ever had. I'm sure Wendy would attest to that. So I have Councillor Bressie and then Councillor Bosch and Mayor Clayton in the queue.
Great, thank you, Chair Thiessen, and thank you, Ms. Lemieux. It's good to have you back to the city. Another question about on-demand. Do we have any stats on how often people are getting all buses or full messages so they can't book a ride?
Yes, through Mr. Chair, I do have some stats on that. So for the period of August 14th to the 20th, I believe 38 seats were unavailable, and 15 of those were on the weekend when we only have one bus running. And for the period of August 12th to the 27th, that number was 31 seats unavailable, and again 15 on the weekend when we only have one bus. So those are the stats that are available at this time.
Great. So I'm just curious. What's first of all, really pleased with the transit redesign. Everything that's within staff's control in terms of I've seen not just our drivers but also transit management and Access GP staff have been on the buses a number of times that I've been on the buses to see what's going on, and I've seen some of the tweaks going on with routes. And I'm really proud to see how responsive staff are being to what they're seeing. That being said, how many buses we have in this system is the big question for me with on-demand. And if we're having times, especially on weekends, where people literally can't get transit because we don't have enough buses on the road, that's a concern to me. And I don't know if that's a concern that I'm personally comfortable waiting till next budget year to fix. So what's the plan with on-demand if we consistently are finding that we don't have enough buses to meet service in parts of our city?
Again, I might look to Mr. Miller to help with that question. Thanks,
Chair Thiessen. I think with any new service, we just need a little bit of time to recognize what the issues are. And then I'm sure between Dan and myself and Steve Harvard, we'll work out the bugs as we move along. We have had discussions about should we be extending the service longer into the evening, the on-demand service, to address exactly what, to make sure we have an adequate service, I guess, on the road. And so we are looking at a variety of options, but sure within a couple of weeks we'll have a few more solutions worked out, and once VIA is on site as well, they'll help us work through it. We also did engage a consultant to help us, and he had experience from another Alberta municipality, so he's been helping us work through the little glitches in the system. So,
hey, thank you very much. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, just if I can make one more comment. I'd say for me personally, I've had about a 50% success rate of being able to book on-demand transit and there actually being a bus available. But usually I've had a very high success rate if I wait 2 to 3 minutes and try booking again. So I know that administration has been working on comms, has been working on the rider's guide, and I just encourage administration to make sure riders know, hey, if you can't get one right this minute, please do check in a couple minutes, because usually that does solve it. And I don't know if I know that there are riders out there who have gotten the one message of the bus isn't available and they've given up and they've caught a cab, or I know one case where they canceled a work shift. And so I just encourage staff to include that in their communications that I know they're working on. And again, I think that there's these adjustments here, but overall very pleased with what I'm seeing.
Awesome. Thanks for your comments and questions, Councillor Bressie. I'll turn the camera over to Councillor Bosch, and then we have Mayor Clayton.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. Welcome, Mr. Lemieux. Thank you. Look forward to working with you. So my question to you is, as far as ridership now that school's starting, What are the impacts like in numbers? Do we know, or maybe Mr. Miller can help out with that? Does it change significantly?
I'll look to Mr. Miller again.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. We do see a significant increase on some of the routes when school's back in. So, and Mr. Harvard and his team are prepared for that, and they monitor the numbers on the buses, and if they have to, they add additional buses for peak times.
So if we're at like 230 to 260 right now, are you able to tell me like what we go up to? Are we at like 800 at that point, or is it? Like
sorry, I was
double?
talking conventional buses. We see a huge increase on the conventional. On demand, we'll have to see where that goes with school coming back in.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And I do appreciate that this is the on-demand is a new service and it takes a little bit of time to work out those glitches, but I think it's a great service that we're going to provide. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that, Councillor Bosch. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. One comment and one question. I just want to reiterate Director Lemieux and welcome. But so that the community understands, there's 2 free swimming days, which I think is something we really should celebrate. So September 1st, people can swim free at the outdoor Aquaterra pool, correct?
Correct.
And September 3rd, there's free swimming. There's 3 time slots from my understanding. You can sign up for one of the time slots as well as free skating and a free barbecue, correct?
That's correct. I apologize. I missed that.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to re-say it so everybody was sure that they understood it. I had another question, but I'll see if there's anyone else in the queue.
I have no other people in the queue. I do have my own question about transit, but all right. Hey, the chair gets to ask his question first before the mayor. So I guess Director Lemieux or Deputy CAO Miller, in regards to our transit schedule going forward into the fall, do we have plans to increase the hours to a 9 o'clock or a 10 o'clock end time for our transit route schedules? We've been receiving lots of emails, or at least I have, in regards to our transit stopping at 8 o'clock, and a lot of places don't close shop until 9, so people who ride transit are sort of stuck. Do we have any plans in the plan to increase those hours now that school's back in?
Thank you for the question, and again, I'll defer to Deputy CAO, Mr. Miller.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. We have had discussions about if there is a need, but we're hoping on demand will actually fill that gap to for those who have to work beyond our conventional times right now to use on demand to get them back home from their place of employment or other reasons that they might want to ride transit. And speaking to Mr. Harvard too, just to go back to Councillor Bosch's question, it's about a 10 to 15% increase in ridership that we see as soon as the students come back as well. Okay. And sorry, Mr. Harvard is monitoring the meeting today, so he's listening to the comments and then he'll certainly follow up as appropriate.
Okay, yeah, and I appreciate that. I think the on-demand transit service could help offset some of these, but we have businesses all over town and stuff, so I'd like to keep an eye on it if Mr. Harvard's watching, and if we have to increase the service hours as well. So I'll pass it over to Mayor Clayton for your question.
Thanks, Chair Thiessen. A different topic, and I'm just not as sure of if council is aware of the answer. Probably for Mr. Miller, actually. Can you maybe give council and the public who may be watching an update on what's happening with the score clock at Eastlink Centre?
All right, thanks, Chair Thiessen. So the most recent information is we've been working with the manufacturer or the provider of the score clock, sent some parts off for their assessment, and I believe early September they are sending staff to Eastlink Centre to, I guess, to review the results of, I think it was some microchips that we sent off to them. They'll bring those back. They'll do an on-site visit and see if they can rectify the situation. Failing that, our intent is if we do learn that it's not repairable, then we'll bring a capital ask to council at budget time.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, Mayor Clayton. I'll look around the council chambers here. I see no other hands up. Oh, wait, there it is, last second. Councillor Kevin P. O'Toole.
Yeah, just a question on the score clock. If it does become a failure and it's not fixable, what would be the time to get a new one installed? Like, would we be missing part of the season for the storm? Sorry.
Thanks, through the chair. I'm not sure of the timeline. We haven't, I don't have that information. We could certainly get that for council.
Oh, that's fine. I just thought maybe you might know. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And seeing no further questions, we'll move right along. Thank you, Director Lemieux, and to Deputy CAO Miller for answering those questions. Anyways, moving right along, we have item 3.2 in our reports. And to this one, we have Katie Bieberdorf here to speak to the 2024 Alberta Indigenous Games.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. The Alberta Indigenous Games were first held in 2011 and have grown into an annual event with approximately 4,200 athletes, coaches, and officials. Historically, the Games are held in Edmonton, but the bidding process is now available to other communities. The report outlines some of the more detailed requirements for hosting the events, but a couple of key areas to note are more than 150 volunteers are required to host. One of the largest differences between these games and other multi-sport games, such as the Alberta Games, is that food and transportation are not requirements of the host society. The host must also provide a committed percentage of the economic benefit as a legacy to the Alberta Indigenous Games, or a cash amount up front, and facilities must be provided gift in kind. The economic impact of the 2024 Games is expected to be $6 million, with the host community providing $500,000 in legacy funds. If the economic impact is less than $5 million, the legacy requirement would be 10% of the economic impact. And we also have Mr. Jake Hendy on the line today if he has anything to add, and he is available for questions as well.
All right. Yeah, I see he's unmuted. Mr. Hendy, do you have anything to say about the Indigenous Games here?
Yeah, no worries. I love your Gandhi little guy there. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm excited. Our games, yeah, we had over 4,200. I'm still counting. Right now, we just have one staff year-round. That's myself. It's my seasonal job, and we are looking at growing it big time. We had over 4,200 just athletes this year. We anticipated it's a growing event that's going to keep getting bigger. Our games started in 2011. We had 300 youth out. The first games, 2013, had 400, 2015, just under 500. Our founder passed away. I became on the board in late 2014, and after he passed away, nobody wanted to take it over. We got no core funding, and our president reached out to me. I was on the board, and I've been in sales, and so Martha Campu, she's from Driftpile, and her and I worked together, and so 2017, we removed a bunch of barriers. We had over 1,100 youth out. 2018, we had back-to-back games for the first time ever. 2019, we had over 2,100 youth, so we doubled again. 2020 was COVID. 2021, in a pandemic with 6 weeks' notice when the Stampede opened up, we threw it together, and we had over 2,700 youth out. And then this year, we were thinking 3,000 to 3,500. When I was giving the initial estimates to you guys, to Katie and Shanoa, and but it's over 4,200. I still got to do all the numbers because this whole last week since the games, I've been doing my full-time job catching up on everything. So our games are huge. We plan on it being big. We want it to be, when you think of Alberta in the summer, you think of Stampede, you think of K-Days in Edmonton, and then you think of the Alberta Indigenous Games. We've become the largest annual summer games in Canada and the largest annual Indigenous summer games in North America. And and the North American Indigenous Games, to give you an idea, that's every 4 years. They have 4,200 athletes, 4,200 athletes, and so we're about that, if not more. But we're on a yearly basis. We look at adding a Indian relay race this year in 2023. We want to, rodeo can go with it. Powwow every night. The biggest Indigenous market, food and arts and crafts, and people coming from all over. So it can be as big as you guys want it to be to host us. The biggest thing, like Katie had mentioned, we just need facilities. We got a whole lot of people that'll come to Grande Prairie and, take part in everything and enrich the city and provide a wonderful opportunity. We're looking at, entertainers, famous Indigenous, non-Indigenous ones, for the public in the evenings, fireworks. It could be however you want. If you want to craft a pretty special thing, for our games. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that, Jake. Mr. Hendy, I know that in the past, City of Grande Prairie has hosted the Arctic Winter Games, and we've seen great success through that, as well as the Alberta Summer Games a few years back as well. So I think we always have an open ear, and we're always looking for ways to engage our community and to give the Indigenous voice a bit of a platform, and these games could do just that. So I'll open it up for some questions. So I have 3 questions going, or 2, only 1. I got Councillor Bosch, Mayor Clayton, and then Councillor Berg. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. Thank you, Mr. Hendy, for joining us today. Yeah, this sounds awesome. I'm excited to see where this goes. I have 2 questions. One is, does this tie into the Indigenous, like winter sports, like all the hockey? I know in winter you get tons of Alberta Indigenous hockey players together. Does this tie together with this in any way?
No, we don't have. We have ball hockey. We have 15 sports. We have track and field, so athletics. We have archery. We have basketball, baseball, beach volleyball, ball hockey, canoe kayak, fast pitch softball, cross country, hand games, 4-player team scramble, golf, lacrosse, rugby, soccer, volleyball. But as we're growing, we want to do a adult Alberta Indigenous Games for like a Masters one. Just copy the same template and paste it and do that. But we also want to do a Winter Indigenous Games, and so that's partly with legacy funds for bringing the games would enable us to do that. Because we have a network. We have over 10,000 followers on our Facebook, and anything we put out there, I know it's not a crazy amount, but in Indigenous country is pretty good. But yeah, not at this moment, but we have a big ball hockey following, and we're growing like big. Like we went from, for example, 50 basketball teams to 82. We went from 60 volleyball to 94 teams this year, and it's just going to keep going. And we plan on 2024 probably being well over 6,000 just athletes.
Okay, thank you. I was curious because the other organizations who do the hockey side, for growth for you in the future, that was awesome. My second question was about the legacy funds, and you kind of answered that with, potentially growing into both summer and winter. So thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Councillor Bosch. Mayor Jackie Clayton.
Good morning, Mr. Hendy. Nice to see you again. I just had a question in regards to last time we spoke. You had mentioned that there was an upcoming date for applications for other municipalities. I think I read that Edmonton was given the 2023 games. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
I know that you and I spoke about other municipalities that might be interested in hosting these games. Do you have a list if 2024, because we've been awarded the 2024 Alberta Winter Games, if 2024 didn't work for us for the Indigenous Summer Games, do you have a list of other municipalities that have sort of indicated their interest in other years and upcoming dates? I'm just trying to, we truly are a games city, and we love to embrace all types of games. The Alberta Indigenous Games being here would be a really special moment for our region. I'm just curious if you have a calendar and sort of a list of people you're targeting for specific years.
So, yeah, no, it's a great question. So we basically, like Lethbridge and Kai and I they're going hard just like you guys. They really want us for 2024. There's Calgary and Sutina. Edmonton obviously wants to keep us here. And I would say those 4, and you guys are the kind of the top 4 right now. Fort Mac has expressed interest. Not too much from Grande Prairie, just being not Grande Prairie, sorry, Red Deer, just to be transparent with you there. But yeah, they definitely are interested. And to give you guys a perspective, you said you held the Alberta Summer Games. So I just want to throw this out there. So the Alberta Summer Games, it's going to be in Okotoks in 2023. And it's announced on the government website. Minister Orr gives that puts it out there that it's 2,700 athletes, coaches, and officials, and it's a 4-day event, and they get $420,000 from the province of Alberta. Okay, so 4-day event, 2,700 athletes, coaches, officials, $420,000. Our games are an 8-day event. Next year we'll have over double that of athletes, coaches, officials, and and we hope to get a $75,000. We have to write a grant to get a $75,000 grant from the province, and so there's a much bigger economic benefit. So just to give you perspective, if you held Alberta Summer Games past, our games will be double that. And there's not an athletes village or anything like that. Everybody brings their own, and communities pay, chiefs, councils, Métis settlement presidents, Métis Nation Alberta, a lot of them are buying in, and they're covering the cost for their athletes, to come to the games, for their housing, for their meals, because they see it's huge. It's a huge thing. There's committees that are going on. They're getting ready right now for the next year. And, it's a big benefit. And then that's why we want to go into the adults, because medicine everyone's healing from the effects of intergenerational trauma, from 60 Scoop, residential schools, forced sterilization, systemic racism. There's a lot of programs for Indigenous adults for mental health, emotional, and spiritual, but there's not much for physical. And so, to be, elder in a pipe ceremony taught me you got to be balanced in all 4 areas in your life to be well-rounded. And our games are between ages, 9 turning 10 up to 21. And then after they age out, there's like nothing for them. And so that's why we tested it this year. We did an adult division 22 to 30, and we had 12 basketball teams, male ones, 4 female ones. It was huge. Like, it's going to be huge for the adult one too, which, by the way, 2023 in June, we are looking for a city to host our Masters games. We're looking at in June, but we need a city that can cover the facilities, because right now, City of Edmonton can't do both. They can't do the youth games in 2023 and cover in kind for 2023 for adults, for Masters. So anyways, just throwing that out there. You guys are interested to test drive it out with the adults, a little, much smaller scale than the youth ones. But I know that's what Lethbridge and Kai and I are looking at, so I figured I might as well tell you guys. But yeah, to answer your question, and then we will have a formal 2024 bid package coming out here soon in the next little bit. And then just to give you guys some little bit more perspective, what's really getting communities to buy in and to be part of this even more so is we started a community championship cup where communities, however many teams that your community sends, you get put into a division. And we have 6 divisions. And so if you send 1 or 2 teams, you're in a division with 1 or 2 teams of other communities, 1 or 2 teams. If you send 10, you're in a division of 8 to 12. If you send 22, you're in a division of communities that send 20 to 24 teams. And it can be a First Nation community, Métis settlement. It can be an urban area. It could be a friendship center. We had this year Peace River send communities. We had Treaty A Urban Child and Family Services send like 10 teams. And so, or a bunch of urban kids. And so you earn points. So every gold medal, you get 7 points, every bronze 5, every silver 5, every bronze 3. And if you just participated, you didn't medal, you still get 1 point. And then in the end, it adds up, and the champions get a trophy that you get to take home. They get to take home, have it for the year, kind of like Stanley Cup, and then they got to bring it back in the grand entry in our opening ceremonies. And then also first place gets a big banner to hang up, like the championship ones you see in high schools. And then second and third place get banners. And then after the game, so like in about a month, just over a month from now, we're inviting all the winners, the first, second, third place from all the communities to come. So there's big buy-in, and so the communities, they want to win that, and it's a sense of pride. And the really unique part about our games is we're the only games that anyone can come. It's not competitive. There's the North American Indigenous Games. There are only 430 athletes from Alberta get to go to that. It's a great experience for them. It's wonderful. There's a Saskatchewan Games that they have, but each tribal council, and it's only for First Nation in Saskatchewan, that they do their summer games. They rotate winter and summer, and they have to, they have to compete. And out of their tribal council, you have to try out. And there might be 10 communities in your tribal council for one volleyball girls intermediate team. So 12 girls out of 10 communities. Our games, anyone can get their kids, their friends and bring a team. and it's open. And we haven't opened it up to the public, but if like, for example, Saskatchewan has sent a few teams, you know, we have about 2% of our teams are from out of Alberta. We haven't denied them. So they want to come play and be part of it. They can be part of the Community Cup and all that stuff, but they get a chance to come get medals and get a play. And but yeah, ours is the only one that I'm aware of that does that, that allows for anybody to come. So it's pretty neat. And they come from all over. Deneta, you know, Northwest Territories, you guys know up there, Little Red River Cree Nation, Piikani, everywhere down south. They come from all over.
Awesome. That's all, Mayor Clayton?
Oh, my question was in the first 3 sentences. I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you for.
Sorry.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Hendy, for all the background information and the fun and the awesomeness, and really related to, I guess, your 4 bodies that have to be in sync. I have Councillor Grantberg in the queue.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Thiessen, and thanks, Mr. Hindy. So I've got 2 questions, and try to keep them relatively short. So you'd mentioned $75,000 funding potentially coming from the province. As it's Indigenous, have you approached the federal government at all for funding?
We are working on that. Minister Randy Bossino came to our closing ceremonies that we just had, and he announced that he's going to fight for us to try to get funding from the federal government. So that would be huge. So we are in talks with them, and yeah, that's something that we're hoping to get.
Great, thanks. And then my other question was kind of addressed in some ways, and Mayor Clayton asked it about, are you open to different years? Because right now we've got the 2024 Winter Games. I know Special Olympics was just here last week for their 2025 games. And administration, is there anything else that we've been approached on that we're entertaining? No? Okay. So, yeah, just for discussion, just curious if there was other years that might be open.
Yep, for sure. We're looking at, from now on, doing a bidding process, you know, for our games, because we would love to travel Alberta and bring our games to other parts. And not only that, you know, we have a teepee village. Culture is a big part of what we do, and to invite the public to come out, you know, and to come see, be part of a powwow. Maybe they didn't feel comfortable with fast, maybe non-Indigenous folk, to be part of that, to come to the teepee village and learn the different teachings, you know, creation stories, you know, how to bead, how to make a drum, how to make rattles, traditional games, you know, especially a lot of our urban people. There's 60-70% of Indigenous urban people live in, or Indigenous people in Alberta live in urban areas. And so it's a neat healing thing as well, our games. It's great healing, and it's great overall for the city. So we're excited, but yeah, we're open to future. So if 2024, we'll have it 2025, you know.
Thanks, Mr. Hindy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome. So, Mr. Hindy, you have sparked some other thoughts and other questions. So I have Councillor Bosch and Mayor Clayton back in the queue.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. I guess my question is, if you're going to go for federal funding, and I hope you get, you know, tons of money out of that, this $500,000 legacy fund, or 10%, will that change if you get additional funding, or is that the model that you stick with?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer 100% right now. I have to talk with our board and everything, but I would say that if we are getting funding from federal government, then that potentially could change, yes, for sure. And if you guys are like, hey, you know, we can't do 500, but we could do 300 or whatever, you know, let us know, and we'll take a look at that as well, because maybe the other bid that comes in doesn't have that much, or maybe they do, I don't know. But, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Councillor Bosch. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks so much. My question, I have a question for administration. Ms. Bieberdorf, I know in your report you mentioned that the Pirates Fastball Club, as well as, I can't recall the other group that you met with, has there been any community conversation in regards to other organizations that might be willing to sort of build a team to help you explore the opportunities here? I know administration is very busy with the Alberta Winter Games, and if there's an opportunity for the Special Olympics. I think council, for many reasons, if not because of the fact that this addresses item number 88 and the 92 calls to action for truth and reconciliation. So I think there's interest here, but I think the more community groups that might be interested in supporting, the better. So I'm just curious if you have had conversations with other community groups.
Ms. Bieberdorf.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. At this point, no. We were working with Pirates Fastball prior to summer, but over the summer we've just not been able to connect, but we certainly can circle back with them to see if they've worked with any other groups that are interested.
Perfect. So Councillor or Chair Thiessen, if there's no other questions, I'd be prepared to make a motion for direction for some business from this discussion point.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see any hands shooting up, so I will entertain your motion.
So I just direct administration to have a conversation with potential community groups who may be interested in partnering in regards to hosting the Alberta Indigenous Games. I'm not going to put a year on it. But I just want to know who out there could support administration, and that would potentially be our municipal partners as well. I think this is truly something Treaty 8 could be very proud of to host, and it would involve municipal partners as well as nonprofit organizations. Thanks.
Thank you very much. For that.
I just want to throw in one thing. Sorry. Just a little bit more context. We have scholarships for all our athletes. We have a male and a female scholarship, $500 for those that have graduated high school and enrolled in secondary, university, school, or trade. And so they encourage them to graduate high school. We have university and college scouts coming from all over, to come recruit. And it's a great experience. Oh man, I wish I could just share everything with you guys.
You shared a lot, Mr. Handy, and I really appreciate that.
And this was the last thing, I promise. My Cree nickname's Makatoon. They say it's Big Mouth, so I'll stop after this. So basically, it's not like a traditional games where you have to have this big committee and do all this stuff. We'll run it all, right? We'll run it all. We just need facilities. We need a place for awesome opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies. If you want to add on and entertainment and power and all that, but we'll coordinate all that. So we just need the facilities, and then to leave, we're going to bring this value to the city and economic impact, and then value left over. So just want to leave that with everybody to understand too, that it's not like a big traditional like you would for Special Olympics or Winter Games where you have to have a host society and got to have the athletes village and it's a big old undertaking. We just ask that they have facilities, someone from the city to work with us on getting the facilities, permits, all that. And we'll get all the coordinators, we'll coordinate and do everything.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Hendy. I know from experience in setting up events, a good organization will do the job right, but many hands together and make light work. So I do think the mayor's motion is taking us in the direction of perhaps good news for the Alberta Indigenous Games in Grande Prairie in the future. We'd just like to get a bit more of a handle on it and see what other community partners are there, and the more involved parties, the better attendance and the better the show, I guess, is the best way to say it. I'd also throw in Métis Local 6 as well as one of the groups that we could contact. But just to speak again to the motion, I guess it is in order, so I'll ask for that to be brought to the vote. And that motion carries. Thank you so much for your time and all the information here in presenting to committee today, Mr. Hendy. We appreciate you and what you're doing for the Indigenous people and the sports that brings together in vast communities and hopefully one day ours. So thank you again for all your time, all your info. And,
thank you so much, everybody.
And we'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
Right, so moving right along, outside of this, it's a pretty light agenda, so I'll turn it back to our new director, Mr. Dan Lemieux of Community Services, to update us on the outstanding items list.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So item 1205 is the one that you've just dealt with. The next 3 items are still in the works and are still on target to be completed by the expected report date. So we've been meeting with the Grande Prairie Curling Center, continuing those discussions about a year-round facility. And again, the other 2 items are on target, and reports will come back in September.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Director Lemieux. Any questions on the outstanding items list? If not, I will entertain a motion. Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Thiessen. I move that committee receive the August 30th, 2022 outstanding items list as amended for information.
Thank you very much. That motion is in order, and we'll call the question. And that motion carries unanimously. Now, if you're following along online, you will see on our agenda we have item 8, 8.1, an in-camera session. So under FOIP, I would just look to entertain a motion to go into camera. Mayor Clayton?
So moved.
And that is that. So I'll just ask that the chamber be cleared here for the moment. And, oh, yeah, wait, we got to vote. Sorry. I was just getting everybody ahead of time, so we don't have to wait for the, you never know. All right, that passes unanimously. I don't have to tell anybody to get out now. That's great. All right, that's pretty good.